I walked into a billionaire's mansion and discovered my mother's secret. People say some doors should never be opened, but the day I stepped into Alexander K. Dane's mansion, one of the richest men in the country, I didn't know the door I walked through would destroy everything I thought I knew about my family. I walked in as a cleaner, broke, invisible, desperate for money to pay my mother's hospital bills. The mansion was massive, white marble floors, golden chandeliers, guards in every corner. I felt like a small shadow swallowed by something too big to understand. But the moment the billionaire himself walked into the hallway and saw me, he froze. His face went pale, his hand trembled, his eyes widened, filling with disbelief. And something else I couldn't name. He whispered, a name I'd never heard him speak. Before my mother's name, my heart stopped. He wasn't supposed to know her. My mother never mentioned him, and I had never seen him in my life. So how did this billionaire, this powerful man, look at me like he'd seen a ghost? And why did he say her name like it once meant everything to him? That was the moment I realized I didn't come to his mansion for a job. I came for the truth. Before we dive in, take a moment to subscribe to the channel so you never miss these powerful stories. Your support means everything. It helps me bring you more emotional, inspiring tales every single day. Now settle in, turn up your volume, and let's begin today's unforgettable story. The marble floors felt too clean for my old shoes. Every step echoed like an apology. I shouldn't have been there. A girl from nothing walking through a billionaire's world. But the agency sent me to clean, and I needed the money more than I needed. Pride. My mother's medical bills weren't going to pay themselves. Don't speak unless spoken to, the head housekeeper whispered as she led me down the east corridor. Don't enter any restricted rooms, and whatever you do, do not draw attention. I nodded, clutching my cleaning bag. The mansion was enormous. Tall ceilings, painted with gold leaf. Chandeliers shaped like falling stars. Walls lined with art worth more than my entire life savings. Everything felt heavy, expensive, distant. Start here, she said, pointing to a long hallway. The family is in the west wing. You won't see anyone, except she was wrong. Because as I bent down to pick up a fallen vase cloth, I heard footsteps. Slow, firm, controlled. I turned around, and there he was, Alexander K. Dane, the billionaire. The man whose face appeared on magazines, business channels, charity galas. The man whose name everyone respected or feared. He wasn't alone. 2 guards trailed behind him, but his eyes were fixed on me. He stopped walking. Completely. His expression shifted from confusion to shock, then something deeper, something haunting. His eyes scanned my face like he was trying to memorize every detail. As if he had seen me before. My throat tightened. Good afternoon, sir, I whispered, bowing my head slightly. But he didn't respond. Instead, he said a name, a soft whisper, a broken memory. Lillian. My heart froze. Lillian. My mother's name. I looked up sharply. Sir, I breathed. He stepped closer, too close for a stranger. What is your name? He demanded, his voice low and trembling. Amelia, I answered, my voice barely audible. He swallowed hard. Amelia. What? Amelia. Great. His face crumpled. Like the name stabbed him. Gray, he repeated, almost choking on the syllable. His eyes filled with something I had never seen in a man like him. Grief. Pure, raw grief. He gripped the edge of the table beside him as if his legs had grown weak. You, he whispered, you look exactly like her. My breath caught. Like who? He didn't answer. The guards exchanged glances, unsure whether to intervene. Alexander stepped even closer, his eyes glassy. How long have you been working here? He asked. This is my first day, I said nervously. He stared at me again, longer this time. Pain flickered across his face. Not annoyance. Not anger. Guilt. You shouldn't be here, he whispered. I stiffened. Why? He swallowed again, struggling to speak. Because if you stay, Everything will change. His voice broke on the last word. I didn't understand what he meant. I didn't understand why he knew my mother's name. I didn't understand why he looked at me like I carried memories he'd buried decades ago. Before I could speak again, the head housekeeper rushed over, bowing deeply. Sir, my apologies. She's new. Alexander raised a hand and silenced her instantly. She stays away from the West Wing, he said sharply. The housekeeper nodded quickly. And someone, he added, his voice trembling. Someone, bring me her file. My heart raced. Why my file? I whispered. But he didn't answer. He just stared at me once more, with an expression that lifted goosebumps across my skin. An expression of someone who had found something he lost, or someone he never thought he would see again. He walked away slowly, his guards following him. But just before he disappeared around the corner, he turned back and whispered, You shouldn't carry her face. Then he walked away, leaving me shaking, confused, and terrified. What did he mean? How did he know my mother? Why did he look at me like I was a ghost? And what truth was he hiding that made him so afraid? I didn't have answers. Not yet. But I knew one thing. My mother had a past she never told me about. And this mansion, this billionaire, was part of it. If you were Amelia, would you stay in the mansion? Or leave immediately knowing the billionaire recognized your mother? I cleaned the east corridor for the next hour, but my hands wouldn't stop trembling. Every time I blinked, I saw the billionaire's face again, the way his eyes widened, the way he whispered my mother's name like it hurt him. My mother had never mentioned him. Not once. Not even accidentally. So why did he look at me like I was the living reminder of something he lost? The head housekeeper returned, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You're to continue here, she said stiffly. The master doesn't want you near the West Wing. The way she said master told me everything. Everyone in this house feared him. Everyone except the ghosts he carried. I nodded and continued sweeping. But something felt wrong. He recognized me instantly. He asked for my file. He told them to keep me away from the West Wing, which could only mean one thing. The West Wing is where the truth is. The thought nagged me like a whisper in the back of my mind. I told myself to focus on work, to behave, to leave when my shift ended. But curiosity has a heartbeat, and mine was pounding louder than fear. Around noon, the head housekeeper rushed off to deal with a kitchen emergency. Guards rotated out. The corridor felt quiet, and that was when I noticed something. A door. Beautiful. Mahogany. Carved with gold designs. And on the brass handle. Do not enter. It was the only door in the mansion with a warning. My breath hitched. A forbidden door in a billionaire's house. And he had just reacted to me like a ghost from his past. I knew, in my bones, that this room held answers. I looked down the hall. Empty. My heart pounded. I stepped closer. My fingers grazed the handle. It was cold. To cold. As if no one had touched it in years. I glanced back one more time. No one. I turned the handle softly. It clicked open. I slipped inside and shut it quietly. The air inside felt different. Still. Preserved. Like stepping into someone's memory. The room was dimly lit, but enough sunlight spilled through the curtains for me to see a grand piano in the corner. Old photographs on the wall, soft pink curtains, a small bookshelf filled with romance novels, a painting half finished, a hairbrush still sitting on the vanity. Everything looked untouched. Perfect. Frozen. As if the person who lived here left in a hurry or never returned. My chest tightened. I walked deeper into the room, drawn by something I couldn't explain. Then I saw it. On the bedside table, a framed picture. My fingers trembled as I picked it up. It was a young woman, smiling brightly, leaning against the piano. She wore a flowing white dress, barefoot, peaceful, beautiful, and the moment I saw her face, my lungs collapsed. It was my mother. Not sick, not tired, not struggling. but young dot radiant dot in love with life dot. My hands shook so violently I nearly dropped the frame. What was she doing in this house? Why did she have a room here? Why did it look like it had been preserved for her return? I turned the photo over, desperate for more. A handwritten message. To Alexander. You made me feel seen. Liliana sharp inhale echoed behind me. I froze. My heart stopped. Someone was standing at the door. I slowly turned around. It was Alexander Dane, the billionaire. His eyes weren't cold this time. They weren't angry. They were broken, completely shattered. He looked at me like his past had just walked back into his life. You shouldn't be here, he whispered, his voice shaking. I stepped back, gripping my mother's photo. Why? Why is my mother's picture here? Why does she have a room in your mansion? Pain twisted across his face like an old wound reopening. He stepped forward slowly. That room, he said quietly, belonged to the woman I loved more than anything in this world. My chest tightened. And that woman, he whispered, tears in his voice, was your mother. Everything inside me shattered. The billionaire was in love with my mother? I shook my head. That's not possible, I whispered. She never told me. He closed his eyes. She couldn't. Why not? I cried. He opened his eyes again, and the grief in them nearly brought me to my knees. Because I failed her. He said, I failed both of you. My entire body went numb. What do you mean? I whispered. He swallowed hard. There are things about your mother's past you don't know. Things she hid to protect you. I stared at him, fear crawling up my spine. Protect me from what? He didn't answer. He just looked at me with eyes full of regret. Amelia, he said softly, your mother didn't just leave me. A beat. She ran. Why do you think Amelia's mother ran from the billionaire? Love gone wrong, danger, or a deeper secret? Asterisk. For a long moment, the room was silent. Dust floated through the air like tiny ghosts, drifting across memories frozen in time. Memories that belonged to my mother. Memories she had buried so deeply that even I, her daughter, never glimpsed them. She ran? I whispered. My voice cracked. Alexander looked away, jaw tight, eyes dark with a pain I couldn't fully understand. She ran from this house, he said quietly, and she ran from me. I shook my head. No, my mother was not the type to run from anything. She faced everything, even when she was sick. She didn't run. He gave a sad, broken smile. She didn't, until she had something, someone she needed to protect. My breath caught. A cold wave washed through my chest. Protect, I whispered. What does that mean? He closed his eyes for a moment, exhaling heavily, as though dragging up a memory that still hurt like a fresh wound. Your mother, he said slowly, was the only woman I ever loved, truly loved. She was my peace, my softness, my reason to breathe. Pain cracked his voice. But my family, they hated her. My throat tightened. Why? I asked softly. She wasn't from our world. He answered. She wasn't wealthy. She wasn't powerful. She wasn't someone they could control. He paced toward the window, hands clasped behind his back. They thought she would destroy my image, ruin the company, make me look weak. He turned to face me, his eyes full of memory. I used to be that man, obsessed with reputation, obsessed with money, obsessed with everything that didn't matter. He swallowed hard. And still, she loved me. My chest burned, because I could hear the regret in his voice, heavy, undeniable. But then, he said quietly, she got pregnant. My heart stopped. My fingers tightened on the photo frame. Pregnant. With me. I stared at him, unable to speak. She told me. He continued, voice trembling, the day she found out. She was crying, laughing, terrified, happy. He took a shaking breath. I told her I loved her, that I would protect both of you. Anger flickered in his eyes. But my father and my brothers, they had other plans. A sharp ache spread through my chest. What did they do? I whispered. He lowered his head. They gave her an ultimatum. I stepped forward. My legs felt weak. What kind of ultimatum? His voice cracked. They told her if she didn't leave me, if she didn't leave the country, they would take you away the moment you were born. My breath caught. Silence filled the room. Cold. Heavy. Suffocating. Double quotes. They threatened to steal you from her, I whispered. Horrified, he nodded slowly, eyes glassy with tears. And his voice broke. I was young, foolish, too afraid to stand up against my own family. He looked like a man, confessing to a sin that had shadowed him for decades. I told her I needed time, just a little time, to fix things, to fight for us. She waited for me. She trusted me. He shook his head painfully. And I wasn't fast enough. A tear slid down his cheek. My father sent men after her. My stomach twisted. She found out. He continued. She realized they meant every word. And she ran, I whispered, finishing the sentence he couldn't. He nodded. She packed to bags, took her passport, and disappeared before they could find her. She left everything. This room, her music, her life, even me. His voice dropped to a whisper. She left because staying would have cost her the one thing she loved more than me. He looked at me with eyes full of grief. I pressed a trembling hand over my mouth. My mother, my strong, quiet mother, the woman who raised me with nothing, who worked day and night, who shielded me from every shadow. She had been running for me, protecting me, sacrificing her own happiness for mine. All this time, tears blurred my vision. Why didn't she tell me? I whispered, voice breaking. He bowed his head. She didn't want you to grow up with fear, or hate, or the weight of our mistakes. She wanted you to have a normal life, not one tainted by our family's darkness. Silence hung between us. Painful. Raw. Real. I wiped my eyes, trying to process everything. If she loved you, I said quietly, why didn't she ever come back? Alexander's jaw tightened. She tried. My heart jumped. What? He nodded. She called me once. She wanted to return. She wanted us to raise you together. What happened? His face darkened. My father answered the phone. My blood ran cold. And after that, Alexander whispered. She never called again. I sank into the edge of the bed, shaking, overwhelmed. He stepped toward me, voice trembling. Amelia. I lost her because I wasn't brave enough. Because I thought power would protect us. I was wrong. He knelt, an unimaginable sight, a billionaire kneeling before a cleaner's daughter. I failed your mother, he whispered. But if you let me, I will never fail you. My breath broke. This man, this powerful, feared billionaire, was crying in front of me. Not for himself, but for the woman he loved, and the daughter he never got to know. If you were Amelia, would you forgive him after hearing this truth, or walk away from him forever? I didn't remember standing up, but suddenly I was on my feet, breathing hard, my heart racing like it wanted to escape my chest. Alexander rose from the floor slowly, his eyes still red, his hands trembling slightly. I know, he whispered, that I don't deserve forgiveness, but you deserve the truth, every piece of it. I wiped my tears with the back of my hand. You said she ran, but she never told me why. She never told me about you. She never told me anything. His eyes softened with pain. She was protecting you, he said. From my world, from my family, from everything that broke her. I looked around the room, her room, untouched for over 20 years. The piano. The books, the unfinished painting, the dress hanging on the closet door as if she'd worn it just yesterday. This wasn't just a room. It was a shrine, a graveyard of unfinished stories. My mother had lived an entire life before me, a life she never shared. Why didn't you find her? I whispered. I tried, he said quietly, for years. But she changed her name, moved constantly, hid herself so well that even a man with my resources couldn't track her. She disappeared into places with no records, no cameras, nothing. He took a breath. But then, 3 weeks ago, a hospital called me. I froze. What hospital? He hesitated. Your mother's. My knees weakened. What happened? I whispered. He looked at the floor. She collapsed at work. They brought her in unconscious. When they searched her belongings for an emergency contact, he met my eyes, voice trembling. They found a letter addressed to me. I felt like the room tilted. A letter? I choked. He nodded. She was planning to tell you everything, Amelia. She wanted to come back. She said she was ready to face the past. She told me she'd been afraid for too long, and that she missed me. My throat tightened painfully. Then why didn't you tell me? I cried. My mother is in the hospital. You knew before I did. His face darkened with guilt. She begged me not to tell you until she could speak to you herself. She wanted to do it in her own words. I covered my face, sobbing into my palms. All these secrets, all these years, all this distance between us. And she was suffering alone. Again. Suddenly, the door burst open. I gasped and turned. A woman stood there, thin, fragile, leaning heavily against the doorframe. Her hair was tied in a loose bun, her eyes weary, her breath uneven. But I would recognize her anywhere. Mom! My voice broke. Tears streamed down her cheeks the moment our eyes met. Amelia, she whispered. Stepping forward on shaking legs, I ran to her without thinking, catching her in my arms as she nearly collapsed. Her body was lighter than I remembered. Too light, too weak. Mom, I cried, holding her close. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me any of this? I thought we had no one. I know, she whispered, voice cracking. I know, my child. And I'm so sorry. Her hands cupped my cheeks as she studied my face like she hadn't seen me in years. You look so grown, she wept. So strong, so much like him. I froze. I looked at Alexander. His eyes were filled with tears. Tears he didn't bother to hide. My mother turned slightly, her grip on my shoulder tightening. Alexander, she said softly. His breath hitched. He took one slow step forward. When he spoke, his voice was raw. Lillian. Just her name. A whisper loaded with decades of love, pain, regret, and unfinished conversations. They stared at each other, both trembling, two people bound together by a child, separated by circumstances far beyond their control. My mother's lips quivered. You kept her safe, she said weakly. He shook his head. No, you did. You protected her from everything, even from me. She reached out a shaking hand. He took it like it was something he had been waiting for all his life. Alexander, she whispered, tears falling freely now. I left because I had to, not because I stopped loving you. He pressed her hand to his forehead. I know, he whispered back, and I never stopped loving you either. My chest tightened painfully. I had never seen love like this. Broken. Wounded. But still alive. Suddenly, my mother winced, gripping her abdomen. Mom, I cried, holding her up. Alexander moved quickly. We need to get her back to the hospital, he said. She left before she should have. She's still weak. She looked at me with pleading eyes. Don't blame him, Amelia, she whispered. He made mistakes. I made mistakes. But everything we did for you. My voice broke as I hugged her tightly. I just want you both, I whispered through tears. Just don't leave me again. She held me, sobbing quietly into my shoulder. I won't, she promised. Not anymore. Alexander wiped his eyes. Let's go, he said, his voice steady, but full of emotion. I'm not losing either of you again. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I wasn't walking alone. Should Amelia forgive her mother immediately? Or should she let her explain everything first? The drive to the hospital felt like floating through a dream I hadn't prepared for. My mother rested against me in the back seat, her breathing soft but uneven. Alexander sat in the front, beside the driver, but he kept turning around watching her, watching me as if afraid we might disappear if he blinked too long. When we arrived, nurses rushed her into a private room one Alexander clearly paid for, though he didn't say a word about it. He just followed silently, guilt shadowing every step. I held my mother's hand until she fell asleep. exhausted from everything her body and heart had been carrying. When the room finally went quiet, I stepped outside. Alexander was standing in the hallway, hands in his pockets, head lowered. He looked smaller, somehow like a man stripped of all the power his money and status once gave him. He looked human. He looked like a father waiting for a verdict. When he saw me, he straightened. "Is she okay?" "For now," I said softly. He nodded slowly, relief flooding his face. Silence settled between us, a silence heavy with all the words neither of us knew how to say. So I broke it first. "You should have protected her." His jaw tightened. "I know. You should have fought for her. I know. You should have chosen her over your family." His eyes glistened as he swallowed. "I know, Amelia. And if I could go back." "You can't," I said sharply. He looked down, like my words cut him deeper than anything else. I exhaled shakily, but my voice softened. "You were young and scared, and you didn't understand what she meant to you until she was gone." He lifted his eyes slowly to mine. "And now that she's back," I whispered, "don't lose her again." Tears finally spilled down his cheeks. "Amelia," he said, voice trembling, "I can never undo what I did, but if you let me, I want to be part of your life, not to take your mother's place, not to erase your pain, but because," his voice cracked, "because you're the one thing I've always regretted losing." My throat tightened painfully. All my life, I had wondered what it would be like to have a father, someone to lean on, someone to trust, someone who saw me as more than the girl trying to survive. And now here he was, broken, flawed, but real. "I don't know how to be a father," he whispered. "I don't know what I'm allowed to do, or what I've already ruined, but I want to try. If you let me." A tear slid down my cheek. "Do you mean that?" He held my gaze steady, certain, emotional. "With everything I have," he said. I didn't know how to respond. Not with words. So instead, I stepped forward and wrapped my arms around him. He inhaled sharply, shocked, unprepared, but then his arms went around me, holding me gently at first, and then tighter, as if hugging a part of his soul he thought he'd lost forever. We stayed like that for a long time, to strangers connected by blood and broken history, trying to build something new. When we pulled apart, he said quietly, "She loved you more than anything." I nodded. "And she loved you. She never spoke your name, but I saw it, in the way she cried some nights, in the way she kept certain things tucked away, in the way she smiled when she thought no one was watching." His eyes closed, pain and relief mixing together. "I don't deserve that," he whispered. "But you have it," I said. "Now don't waste it." A week passed. My mother recovered slowly, and Alexander was there every day, bringing flowers, soups, stories, and the quiet kind of devotion that didn't ask for forgiveness, but tried to earn it. One morning, I woke up to find him sitting beside her bed, holding her hand while she slept. Gently, reverently, as if touching something sacred. When he noticed me, he smiled, a small, hopeful smile. "She told me everything," I said softly, "about the threats, the fear, the running." He nodded. "So what do you want now?" I asked. He looked at my mother with a softness that almost broke me. "I want to give both of you the life I should have given you 20 years ago." And for the first time, I believed him. When my mother finally woke up that morning, Alexander was there. I watched the way her eyes softened when she looked at him, the same way mine softened when I looked at her. "Lillian," he said gently, "I'm sorry for everything." She closed her eyes, tears escaping. "I forgave you years ago," she whispered. He exhaled shakily. "And Amelia?" she asked, turning to me with a hopeful look. I smiled through tears. "I forgive him too," I said. "And I forgive you." She pulled me into a trembling embrace. Alexander joined us, wrapping his arms around both of us carefully, as if afraid to break the fragile new family forming between us. In that moment, something healed inside me. Something that had been broken long before I was even born. We were an imperfect family, built from broken pieces, but together for the first time. And that was enough. Do you think this family will stay together? Or will Alexander's past come back to test them again? Asterisk, if you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe. Your support helps me create more emotional stories for you. Thank you for watching.